Hi, and welcome to Run Tall with Tim, a YouTube channel that's dedicated to all runners everywhere. I'm Tim, and I upload new running videos every single week. If you're new to the channel, I try to get new videos out on both Wednesday and Saturday morning, and that's at 5 a.m. Standard Eastern Time here in the US. And if you want to save yourself a little time, I tried to make that easy for you. If you open the description, there you're going to see where I've laid out some chapters for you. All you have to do is click on a timestamp for the part of the video that you want to watch, and it's going to take you right there. On today's episode, I'm taking a second look at the Nike React Infinity Run FlyKnit 2. Now, I have over 50 miles on this shoe. When I first reviewed it, I had two really major concerns regarding the quality of the shoe and the fit. The first had to do with the stitching that held the tongue together, and the second had to do with that heel clip that comes up so far, right up into your midfoot, almost into the forefoot area. When I had first slipped that shoe on before I ran in it, I could feel that plastic on the side of my foot kind of digging in there a little bit. But now that I've got over 50 miles on these shoes, I can give you a better idea of what it's going to feel like underfoot for you. So before we get into it though, I do always like to start with a running demo so that you can kind of see what these shoes can do in action. Take a look at that foam, see how that reacts when it hits the ground, the pronation, all that kind of good stuff. So let's do that first, and then when we come back together, we're going to talk about all this stuff and a whole lot more. So let's talk about the purpose of the shoe. Now, Nike claims that this shoe will help you run longer by reducing your risk of getting an overuse injury. Now, they do that by building in a lot of motion control. And while they don't call it a stability shoe, it has a lot of stabilizing features to it. And it costs $160, which is pretty pricey. But when you compare it to traditional stability shoes for, a high quality pair of running shoes, with all of those features, that's basically what they're getting for those shoes. So I'd say they're pretty much right on par with the cost that, of what other companies are charging for shoes with similar features. So let's talk about the weight of the shoe. Now, that's not terrible. It comes in at 9.7 ounces for a men's size 9 on my scales, or 274 grams. And again, for shoes that have these kind of built-in features, that's pretty decent. That's not terrible. In fact, for men's size 9 for me, for a daily trainer, which is what this shoe really kind of falls into for category-wise, anything under 10 ounces, I'm pretty happy with. So it's right there. So I'm not unhappy with the weight of the shoe. So let's zoom in. We'll talk about the upper now. And as we look at that upper, when we get to 50 miles like we're at now with this shoe, I start looking for durability issues. And, as far as that goes, this FlyKnit material is doing really well. I haven't had any kind of concerns with that. And I can say that it's really comfortable. It's soft. It feels really good on my feet when I run. It allows, a fair amount of airflow. Now, for me right now, this time of year, it's cold. Typically it's been running right around 25, 20, 28 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's well below freezing. And I've been really comfortable, that way in the shoes. So I don't know what it's like to run in these shoes in hotter weather, so I can't really give you a good sense of what it's going to be like if you live in a warmer climate. But my sense is that it's got enough airflow that I think you'll be comfortable as well. Now, as we pan around to the side of the shoe, again, I don't see any signs of wear. They've got their Nike logo there, and you can see that big heel clip that I had some concerns about coming up so far into my midfoot, really almost right up to my forefoot. And at the time when I first reviewed the shoe, when I put them on initially, just to try them on, walk around my house, that heel clip seemed to be digging into the side of my shoe. But I can say that, after having put, a few miles in these now, that's really not been an issue. So I can just kind of check that box off my list of concerns. The only time, I will say though, however, with one caveat, the only time that I really felt it was when I was hitting some tight corners. And this time of year, unfortunately for me, that happens more often than I would like it to, because I have to run on sidewalks quite often. And with the snow and the ice and so on, I don't have the ability to cut that sidewalk to make it a more gentle turn. So, you're coming up to basically a T, and you really got to make that quick corner there. And so when I was doing that from time to time, I would feel my foot kind of roll over on that piece of plastic. So if I had my choice, I wouldn't have it go up quite so far into my midfoot, or like I said, almost all the way really up into my forefoot. But it wasn't an issue overall. I felt still pretty comfortable in the shoe, for the 50 miles that I put in them thus far. Now, as we take a look around on the shoe, let's kind of move in now to the eyelet chain. Now, they've got their Flywires here, and I was impressed the first time I ran in these shoes just how dialed in I was able to get, and that has not changed. I love these Flywire on the knit upper, and you can see how they run down all the way to the midsole of the shoe. So when you cinch those laces up, you can really dial it in so that you can feel, very secure and locked in to the shoes. And they are one of my favorite uppers on shoes thus far. Really enjoying that aspect of it. Now that we got their laces out of the shoe, let's take a look and see how that tongue is doing, because here was a big issue for me, because after I took the laces out and started really kind of, taking a magnifying glass to the shoe, so to speak, and really putting it under a microscope, I noticed right off the bat, before I even ran in the shoes, it looked like the stitching was already coming loose around that tongue. And my concern was that I might rip or tear that right off. Now, that has not happened to me yet. But because I think in my mind, I know that it was a concern, I think I've been, kind of gentle with that tongue. So I think it's going to be okay. But I wish that I didn't have to think about that quite so much. So I don't probably pull on it like I normally would on a tongue of a shoe when I'm going to put them on. I'm using more of that strap that they have in the heel, and I do appreciate that, to pull my shoes on. So I think it's going to be okay, but it's definitely a quality build issue that Nike's going to have to address, and that's going to be something that you're going to have to think, for yourself, whether the fit of the shoe, the way the mechanics of the shoe work, if it's worth taking the risk on having, a quality issue like that come up for you, or just make sure that wherever you buy the shoes from, they've got a really generous return policy, and so that you don't end up holding tongue in one hand one day and then basically having to scrap a pair of shoes, that you could put them in a box and return them. So I happen to buy these shoes from Roadrunner Sports, and I've got a 90-day return policy. So that also gave me a little bit of a peace of mind that I can run in these shoes for a while to make sure that, I don't have that issue. And if I do have the issue, I'm going to box them up and send them back. But at this point, so far so good. So let's look at the padding around the collar and tab of the shoe. And they don't show any signs of wear, but more importantly, after 50 miles, I can say that they're super comfortable. The only thing that I would have liked, I think, in this shoe that Nike didn't do, and they've been doing in pretty much every other shoe it seems that they're making, is I would have liked, I think, to have an Achilles heel flare. Now, they didn't do it with the shoe, and it's still pretty comfortable, but I've kind of gotten used to that feeling now of having a flare in that Achilles. And so I think I would have preferred it just from a comfort standpoint. But again, it's done a good job. I've had these out on, different workouts ranging from, 4 miles to 14 miles, a little over 14 miles, something like that. And they've done really well in each workout. So that's not been an issue. I just think that it might have been a little more comfortable with that heel flare. So if you're from Nike and you're listening, why not? Why not put that in there? So let's turn now and look at the midsole and all of that React foam that's underfoot. Super nice. It feels so good. They've got tons of it. They got 33 millimeter stack height in the heel and 24 millimeters in the forefoot. So they got a 9 millimeter offset from the heel to the toe. But what I found so pleasant was that forefoot. When typically I'm a midfoot striker. And all of that React foam up in that midfoot, forefoot area just was so comfortable. And, the place that I found that this shoe fits great for me, and I'm going to call it probably my 7-up shoe. So 7 miles and up, it feels awesome. Not that you couldn't run shorter distances, but there's, I have some other shoes that I like to take out on the 7 and below type of runs, but this one fits me really well for that 7-up shoe. So, I do enjoy it. I enjoy that React foam. There's plenty of spring. It's soft, lots of energy return. Now, it's not a speed day shoe, but it is a shoe that I can log tons of miles on and feel really good at the end of the day when I come, rounding that corner into my driveway and finishing up. So, I do enjoy that. A part of that is how they designed that midsole material along with the outsole to create a big wide landing platform up in the forefoot. That's just part of the stabilizing features of the shoe that make it such a pleasant ride. And now that we have the shoe flipped over, let's take a close look at the durability, see if we can see any signs of wear on that outsole rubber material. And I don't. I've looked pretty darn closely at this, and I don't see any real scuff marks, anything along those lines that would lead me to believe that this outsole rubber material is going to wear prematurely. So I think they did a good job covering up all of that React foam underfoot. So I'm really liking the shoe. I wish that it didn't have that issue around the tongue area. I hope that Nike addresses that at some point, maybe get with their vendors and deal with that quality control issue. But overall, I'm really enjoying the shoe. And the other thing that I was concerned about was how high they built up that medial area or that arch support. Now, I think, as I mentioned in my first review, if you've got a high arch, I think it's going to feel really comfortable to you. Now, I have a lower arch, and so I noticed it right off the bat. But I think over that 50 miles, I didn't even notice it, and I enjoyed having the extra support underfoot. So that was not an issue. So check that off my list of concerns. But the one concern that's still remaining is that stitching around the tongue. So Nike, if you can get that fixed, I'm 2 thumbs up. But right now, I'd say 1 thumbs up at this point. So, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I certainly enjoyed making it for you. As always, run tall, run strong, be kind to one another. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.